And put Adam on the air from West Virginia. Hi, Adam.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Freaking awesome.
So go ahead.
I just wanted to ask why you don't believe.
Haven't seen any good evidence. Do you have some?
Yeah, I do.
Let's hear it. You could change my life right now.
Can I ask a question first?
You just did. Any more?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Are you a naturalist as well, or just an atheist?
How would you define naturalist?
Somebody who believes that only one world, the natural world, exists.
You mean like
nothing transcends
what is a
it?
world, like Earth or Mars? Are those different worlds?
Like a realm. I'm talking in philosophical terms, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not much of the philosophical person, but I guess, I've heard the multiverse. There might be even multiple universes. So I don't know.
Right, but that could still be entirely naturalistic. I was talking about, do you believe in anything that's supernatural?
What is supernatural?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything yet. You have something supernatural?
So you don't believe? So
well, it's not that I don't. It's not that I don't believe. It's that I haven't seen it.
Well, or just an atheist?
I guess my question would be, what are you putting forward as supernatural?
Something that transcends the natural world.
Well, for example.
Yeah. What do you got?
I'm not proposing this. This is just a preemptive question before I get into something else.
Right, but I need to know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
so
I don't know what supernatural means.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just giving you an example. So a Platonic form, for example, wouldn't be a god, so you could be an atheist while believing in them. So something like that is supernatural, but not a god.
Wait, a what?
I think I missed a word in there.
Yeah, I did too.
Like a Platonic form.
Like such as?
I'm not familiar with the word. I'm sorry.
Like the property of something that exists transcendent in another realm.
Like what?
What does transcendent mean?
Like numbers and abstract ideas.
I believe in numbers.
Like
I'm good with numbers.
Yeah, but...
Do you think numbers are supernatural?
I'm saying they could be if you thought they were represented in Platonic ideals in a supernatural realm.
I don't So, can you give me an example of a supernatural number?
No, yeah, I don't think you're accurately representing what I'm asking you.
Okay, well, tell us.
I'm trying to understand. I guess I'm not trying to represent what you're asking.
Like spirits, for example.
What is a spirit?
What is a spirit?
Spirits. Hold on.
I can't continue if I don't know what you're talking about. It's really important that I understand you. What is a spirit?
Okay, so spirits, for example, they wouldn't be a god, but they could be something that's supernatural.
But what's a spirit?
And so an immaterial representation.
If it's immaterial, how do you know about it?
Okay, well, we can get to those questions. I'm just asking if you believe it or not.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I guess given the default of something that cannot be defined, do I believe it? No.
Do you believe that something exists more than the material?
And I'm saying, for example, and I can't get an example.
Yeah, I don't know what it means more than the material.
A Platonic form or a spirit. I've given you two examples.
But we don't know what a spirit is. That's the problem. And when you give us a definition, that definition doesn't seem
It's an immaterial substance that transcends our realm and holds person.
Wow.
I don't know what
such as what?
Right?
Like,
but I'm just asking if you believe it or not.
I don't know what that is because I have no frame of reference that includes a thing like that. So I don't know what you're describing.
So then you don't believe it then if you have no frame of reference.
I guess I can't believe a thing if it can't be meaningfully defined. Correct. I can't believe a thing. I just gave you three attributes.
No, you gave us 3 words.
Immaterial is not an attribute; it's a lack of it. I mean, what is immaterial? Like, is that what you were talking about with the numbers?
No, that was just an example for something else. But I'm just asking if.
So, do you think numbers are material?
Do I think numbers are material?
Are they real?
No, they're obviously not material.
So they're
but they
immaterial.
Could exist naturally.
Well,
right, but they don't exist as a substance or a thing.
Well, if they did, then they'd be material, right? So those are immaterial.
Well, is that what you're saying? The only thing that exists are abstract ideas and.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
So why don't you get to the part after this that maybe and see what happens.
Okay, so
I'm optimistic.
I'm going to define what I think a god is, right?
Okay.
And then you can tell me if it qualifies as something you believe in or not. Is that fair?
I guess, yeah. Let's hear
Sure.
it. Shoot.
So I believe God is uncaused, timeless,
How do you know
spaceless,
this?
immaterial.
Wait, I want to hear his definition
Okay.
first. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I believe that I believe that God is uncaused, timeless, spaceless, immaterial, extremely powerful entity that created the universe. Do you believe that exists?
I don't even know how that would exist. Like, how are you even defining existence? How would it exist if it's not really in in what way is it existing?
Why do you believe this?
Well, because I think that there's a good argument for it. But do you think you could answer whether you believe that thing exists?
I don't even know how you define existence if what you just described is what you would say fits into that definition.
Let's pretend you believe
This is what
it.
I tried to establish if you think that only material things can exist.
Well, no, I'm asking how do you define, like if something exists, how do you determine that? Like what to you is considered to be existent?
Logical arguments and reason and evidence.
All right, so let's assume you believe what you said you believed. What is your evidence?
Yes. Okay, but can you just tell me if you believe that or not?
My position doesn't affect your evidence.
I'm not going to argue for something that you could believe in. So just
He's basically saying if you believe it, there's no reason for him to make an argument.
No, I think he's saying if I don't believe it, there's no reason to make an argument.
No, he's saying if you don't believe it, there is a reason to make an argument.
What are you saying?
No, I believe that thing exists. I believe that is a God. You are an atheist. You do not believe in a God. Does that qualify as something you would determine to be a God?
For the sake of argument, yes.
Okay.
Continue.
So,
give us your evidence.
Okay. So my argument is...
How long is this show?
Let him go. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Please continue.
So basically the Kalam cosmological argument, but I reframe it in a different way.
I told you.
Sounds so familiar.
Yeah, I don't do arguments. That's more of a Matt thing. I consider arguments...
You don't do arguments?
I consider them verbal masturbation.
Yeah, I tend to
it's
say,
just a bunch of
at
words.
the end of the day, an argument to me is like a hypothesis. And then the question becomes, how are you going to test for it? So you have...
I'm presenting a formal logical argument.
That's fine, and I'm assuming that at the end of your argument, the answer is, and so therefore this thing that I just described exists and is a God. And so my question... Okay, so my question is, let's skip to the end. Okay. You've got this concept now that is like this God that you just described as having the attributes you described, and you've explained. Let's just say you gave a formal argument that you accept as coming to that conclusion, and we've heard it, and we think, ooh, that's an interesting argument. Yeah. Now, how do we test to make sure that it's actually correct?
It's not about. I'm presenting a logical argument.
Yeah, right. We've granted you.
You're giving us the kind of the reason why you think that this thing must be or could be, right? I mean, that's what this would come down to.
It's deductive. It's not even.
Right, but at the end of the day, it only matters if we can actually test to see if what you've concluded it is in reality there.
Are you denying logic?
No, I'm saying that what logic would provide you would be the reason for why you think this. But in order for us to test that it actually does correspond to reality, then we should have some method to test for it. So we get to the end of your argument. Everybody says, wow, it really sounds like this makes sense. How do we make sure that it's actually true?
You only believe in things that can be tested.
Well, no, we'd have to confirm it. Don't you think that verifying what you believe is important?
Yeah, that's why I have a premise form argument. So the conclusion is...
But that's not verification.
Yeah, for the moment, we're going to pretend that we agree with your argument. Okay. Just skip to the end. You've convinced us.
I haven't even presented it. Okay.
But that's okay. You don't need to present it. You'll save us all half an hour. We assume that you're right, and your evidence, your argument has convinced us there is a God. What about it? What do we do with that?
I'm wondering, how do we confirm
you believe, because that's what a logical argument is, and that's evidence.
But I want to confirm. I want to confirm it though, because this is very,
confirm.
Are you a deist?
Yeah,
are you a deist?
Confirm.
Are you a deist?
I would rather not get into that first. You're an atheist, so you don't believe in any sort of a God.
All right,
so
pretend I'm a deist.
A single God.
I'm a deist.
No, change your name to the Deist Experience, and then I'll call back in.
All right, well, thanks.
If I show you that any sort of God exists, then I've falsified your position. So that's what I'm trying to do here.
But what you're saying, though, is at the end of the day, if you think it's reasonable to believe a God exists, even if you have no way to verify that it's correct, you think that it's okay to just believe it.
Yes, because it's the most reasonable conclusion.
Okay, so you're using the argument from it just makes sense to me. And I don't find that to be convincing.
It has to be true.
What? It has to be true.
I'm giving you two premises and a conclusion. The conclusion necessarily follows. Now, the premises could be unsound. That's entirely possible. But
right? How would we know? How would we know that there isn't a problem with some of the premises if we can't test to make sure the conclusion is accurate?
Let me present them first,
but if I
and then you can tell me.
Okay.
Yeah, you can talk about the premises if you want. I don't do these.
I don't understand how it would even matter if, I mean, I could say something that's completely reasonable that people in this room are like, yeah, that makes, just like what, well, in fact, we actually went through this. It made sense to me to pay off my mortgage early because then I don't have a mortgage payment in retirement. And since I'll be on a restricted income in retirement, I don't want to have to pay the mortgage. So it made sense to me.
There's a difference between making actions and believing something exists or not, okay?
What I'm trying to explain to you is that all it took was for Phil to explain the math to me at my dining room table to show me that, oh, there's other ways of looking at this that I didn't consider that actually may invalidate my prior mode of thinking.
Okay, so give me those reasons. That's what philosophical
What I'm saying is if you give your reasons and we agree with you, we still, all three of us, don't know if we're right. So it doesn't matter at the end of the argument unless we can confirm it.
So there's two premises and a conclusion. If the premises are true, the conclusion is necessarily true, and it is reasonable to believe what's true. We can agree on that?
Right, but what I'm saying is that just because we agree that what you would put forward makes sense doesn't mean that we're right.
And if you were following that logic and you wanted to convince us with this argument that there was a God, and we just jumped to the end and said, okay, there is a God, you still don't want to go on. I said, assume you're right. Your argument wins. There is a God. Now what?
Okay, great. I've destroyed the show then.
Thank you.
So your position is falsified then.
Okay, thank you for calling.
Your position's wrong.
And it means nothing. So you're basically saying that nothing.
What do you mean it means nothing?
He just asked you what that would mean.
You've converted me to a deist. I believe in God. Now what?
Okay. Now you're a more reasonable person.
Oh, Jesus.
Goodbye. Where are we at?
It's the red one.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
Wow. Just, I mean, if there's a problem in your argument that we do not see, then when we get to the end of it and we all agree that the argument is correct, we can still be wrong. That's why verification is important. This is why when you have a hypothesis, you don't just stop and say, wow, that's a really good hypothesis. Let's just proceed as though it's true. You don't do that. You have to be able to verify. There is no reason to, and what Phil is asking is, let's say that you hit the point where you can't verify, and you have this idea that says, well, this seems to be pointing to this, but we can't test it, we can't verify it, so we don't know. So why should we lend belief to it until we can verify it? Why not just say, I don't know, there's this argument for it that sounds really good, but we can't test, so therefore I don't know till we can figure out a way to test.
And of course, the inherent problem with that argument, of course, it's flawed, and Matt's much better at explaining that than I'm ever going to be, but even if you get to the point that there is a God,
what?
Yeah, he has no attributes that it created the universe.
It's like he's a God that exists in a way that doesn't exist. It's like he exists in a timeless, spaceless.
Someone once asked
he's powerful, but he's not really in this universe or whatever. And he's not manifesting. So what's the point?
They said, Phil, how do you argue with a deist? And I said, why do you argue with a deist? I don't care. If you want to believe that, that's fine. It's as soon as you go to the next step when you think that I shouldn't teach about birth control in school that it becomes a problem.
How are we doing? Let's see. So. Let's see. We have now. Oh boy, here we go. I'll take this, although it could get pretty complicated. We'll just see where this goes. Well, wait, we've got this one holding. So, all right, I'm going to try this. Oh, good Lord.